Hello and welcome to the first episode of My Deck is Bigger Than Yours, the show that talks about anything related about Magic the Gathering. I'm your host, the hero. In today's episode, we'll just talk about what's the purpose of this series and my plans for more Magic the Gathering content in the future. Well, you guys, was against the hero, and I'm welcome back. I'm actually back in YouTube, and then I hope you guys get to see more content in the year 2023. And I do apologize that I was like really quiet last year. A lot of stuff happened here and there, so taking a break from Twitch, gonna focus this year on YouTube and see what we got. So before we get started, if you want to support this channel, simply click the subscribe, like, and share. Remember, it's one of the best ways to support the channel for free. And a moment with our sponsor. This video is powered by Dubby. Dubby Energy is the maker of a clean gamer energy drink to enhance focus, concentration, and reaction time with no jitters, crash, or bad ingredients. Head over to dubby.gg and use the code THEHEROES to get that 10% discount. Alright, I would like to do a shout out to all my MTG homies, my spell table crew in the inventory, especially the main man himself, Dojo Dean, for pushing me to start this again. Okay, let's go. Let's introduce myself once again. My name is The Hero, and I've been playing Magic for a long time, mostly on and off. I would like to appreciate everyone who's turning into the special first episode. So, a little bit of my Magic journey, right? So, I actually played all the way back in, I believe, Tempest, Mirage kind of deal, a little bit of Urza Saga, Urza's Destiny, stuff like that, Mercane Mass Quest, all the way to Invasion. I stopped at, I believe, was it Onslaught? I stopped at Onslaught, Legion, around there, came back at the first Kamigawa. Then I actually came back during the Battle for Zendikar a while back. I think, was it 2016, guys, for Battle for Zendikar? I don't remember. And then Shadow's Innistrad, all the good stuff, and then I stopped again, focused on MTG Arena, and I actually came back during Midnight Hunt. So I was collecting, but I didn't start actually playing the game until Dojo Dean came around and goes, hey man, why don't we play some Commander? So we got hooked up. I hooked him up with a couple of decks. I hooked him up with, I think his first pre-con was the zombie one from Midnight Hunt, and then the second deck I hooked him up with the Tovalard, the werewolf team deck. So those are his two first decks, man, and it was a lot of fun because he was able to tweak it, upgrade it, make it the way he wants it to play, his style of play, certain cards he wants. Lots and lots of fun. And so far, right now, my favorite deck that I'm currently playing is Kenrith, Group Hug deck. So you guys, of course, you guys know Kenrith, right? Kenrith is the one with it's 5/5 for I think 4 colorless, 1 planes, and it has all this bunch of abilities, right? So the thing about this deck, it's a group hug deck. So group hugs, basically you entice your opponents, right? Deals with a lot of politics, right? You give good stuff, like everyone can play additional lands, everyone can draw 2 cards per turn, and then each player gains a life. If they do, they draw a card, stuff like that. You can add like extra mana. I can give them mana if they need to. So it's all about sweetening the pot, right? You just talk to the opponent, say, hey man, it's basically making deals. So after you make the deals, you secure yourself to prevent you from attacking. Like say like, hey, I'll give you mana, or I give you this card if you don't hit me, stuff like that. So, and then you play off after that. You try to win the game on the spot without them knowing. So basically, has different ways to win. It has the guild gates. If you guys don't know, if you have the 10 or more guild gates, you win the game with Mazen. And then I run the leveler Jace combo where I exile my library, and then I win the game with Jace. I even got the Door to Nothingness combo with the Myojin, where I make multiple copies of it and try to remove the players from the game each turn. Or Approach of the Sun, and I try to do a whole bunch of combos. It's pretty interesting the way I play. I even try to mill the opponents too, like without them knowing. I try to mill and then do Rise of the Dark Realms, take everyone's creatures, and then with Kenrith in the play, I'll just make everyone haste and then swing for an attack. There are different ways to win with this deck. So I like that. So if people actually play my deck, they're like, what is this? What kind of deck is this? I smell something fishy. Some shenanigans gonna happen. That's what those guys like to say. Matt, Dean, Dom. Shout out to the homies. Even Jace too. Like, this guy is pretty sneaky here. I'll do some some stuff, and then sometimes I try to draw everyone, make everyone draw like 10 cards, whatnot, and then they take damage from from my curse card, for like, or Underworld Dreams, stuff like that. Right? It's different. I'll probably show in the description, the deck list, show you guys how it looks like. Right. So we're gonna move on to the next topic. Enough of me introducing myself. I'm probably in a role right now. Pretty fun. So right. So this is a topic I ask my viewers or anyone that I put out there, which is called "What's the most fun deck you've made?" One that maybe didn't win all the time, but you really enjoyed the mechanics or playstyle. So I didn't get. I got quite a few. So I'm gonna start with like maybe like four, and then if I do get more random stuff that I really liked, I'll probably add it to the next episode. So let's start off with me first. So the first, so my group, so I ran a Niv Mizzet Reborn group slug deck, right? So it's basically a 5 color budget deck that throws in some of the cheap, affordable, dirty cards. It's like a Punisher style deck that even affects me. So Niv Mizzet is basically a Warburg commander, right? White, blue, black, red, green, and it says flying. When Niv Mizzet Reborn enters the battlefield, reveal the top 10 cards of your library for each color pair. Choose a card and exile those colors from among them, but the chosen cards into your hand and the rest of our library. So people are like, hey, why is this in a group hug? What kind of deck is this? So I just use it as a face. I'd see it for the colors. But when I do cast him, I can hit the opponent for some big body, got flyer, probably help me fetch certain cards. Probably if I do cast him, out of the 10 color pairs, I'll probably get like maybe maybe 2 or 4 I'll hit, and I go in my hand. So helps refill, helps reshuffle my library. To dig into more cards that I need. So what is group slug? So a lot of people are like saying like, what's group slug? Right. So AKA the Punisher deck refers to a commander deck archetype that actively damages any players at an equal rate. So usually in an effort to quickly deplete the enemy life total before those players are able to set up their own strategies. Like, it just hurts them right from the beginning. The name derives itself from the group hug strategy, as both strategies tend to provide equal effects to all players on the table, though in some cases group slug strategy effects are negative, while group hug is positive, right? It ran cards like Zuzu the Punisher, which, like, whenever a player plays a land, they take 2 damage. Havoc Festival, so players can't gain life at the beginning of your upkeep. Each player's life rounds up to the lowest, like half the life. So if you're 40, your life is at 20, right? If you're at 20, your life's at 10. So it dwindles the opponent's life, and everyone's like, "Oh shit, here we go. Here's the hero with his messed up cards." So, and they have mana bards as well. So whenever a player taps a land for mana, they deal damage. You got Rurik Thar, Unbound. So some of these cards affect me too. So it makes it a little fun. So Rurik is like, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, the player takes 6 damage. That includes me. You got Dictate the Twin Gods. Increase doubles the damage for all players, including me. If a point hits me, the damage is doubles. If it's 5 damage, it's 10 instead. So I haven't won the game at all, but you end up getting a big ass target in your forehead. It's hilarious watching everyone's life drop really fast. So they tried to aim for me as soon as possible to stop the effects, or if they have any solution, they try to get me out first. So I played a couple of games of this deck. Dean tried to go after me, all that stuff. So it's pretty cool. So we're gonna look at Dojo Dean. Right. So my buddy Dean. So next up, I think it's one of his decks that he created, which is Shirai. Shirai. Did I say it correctly? Chat, let me know if I said it wrong. It's called Shiri's Shizo's Caretaker. It's a 5 mana, 2/2 legendary spirit. So whenever a creature with power 1 or less is put to graveyard from the battlefield, you may return that card to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. If Shizo's caretaker is still on the battlefield, right? So, is this an aristocrats theme deck? So, what is aristocrats? So, it's a magic deck archetype that seeks to sacrifice its own creatures, especially mana low cost and or tokens, to accumulate game winning benefits. Its ability. So that's basically it. So this is a sack outlet deck, sack engine. So its ability returns creatures with power 1 less from graveyard to battlefield, generating numerous interaction possibilities with effects triggered by incoming creatures like ETBs enter the battlefield, and also LTBs, which is leave the battlefield. So Dean would have a sack outlet, do triggers. He can even to benefit, like he'll sacrifice a creature, draws a card from the LTB, and then at the end of the end step, he comes back. It comes back, right? And he can rinse and repeat. Like he can use it as a blocker. It dies. It comes back at the end of the end step. So it's pretty cool, man. I've seen Dean play this like a few times, and I really like the ability. And remember, guys, so Shiri's ability triggers at all turns, right? That is in our turn and opponent's turn. So, yeah. And the next up is my buddy Jalapeno. So he did tell me about this deck. So he's actually ran a janky Dijiru mono white Super Friends deck. That's right, guys. He ran a mono white Super Friends deck using Dijiru with Eyes Open, which is a 5 mana, 3 colors, 2 planes, legendary creature, so has vigilance. So when Dijiru with Eyes Opens enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a Planeswalker card. Reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle the library. If a source will deal damage to a Planeswalker you control, prevent 1 of that damage. So he made. So I believe he ran like 16 Planeswalkers in his deck. All mono white Planeswalkers, right? So it's Pillar Fort style. Of course, he's gonna run like Ghostly Prisons, Beer Safety, right? All those Pillar Fort cards. And then it has Gideon and emblems and champion sub themes. So protect, right? Probably has. I'm still waiting for the list from him, but tons of anthems, overrun effects, and then planeswalkers with global effects like Elspeth, right? So that's a really really good janky deck. So I've never actually seen anyone play this until he mentioned it to me. So I told him to give me the list because I'm actually pretty interested in trying to build one just for fun, you know. Oh, it's Greasefang. If you guys don't know what's Greasefang, so Greasefang is from Kamigawa, right? It's the Reanimator vehicle deck, basically Reanimator deck. So you basically dump a whole bunch of your artifacts, any vehicles into your graveyard, and then with its ability trigger from Greasefang, you return it back into the battlefield. It gains haste, and you tap it on Greasefang to attack. Like we got Parhelion, you got Skyfor, or you got even Weatherlight, all that stuff. So it's pretty cool triggers. But then at the end of the upkeep, it comes back to your hand. So you got to figure out some type of cards that you want to discard. So you have Zombie Infestation. You got a whole bunch of cards to help you discard from your hand. You know, and then you just keep rinse and repeat. So it was a really fun mechanic. I think the only downside he had was trying to get as much or dump as much vehicles into the graveyard, and then using Greasebank to bring them in. So he has to use cards like Entomb, Vile Entomber, stuff like that. So I haven't seen him win once, but I really like the style though. So we get to see in action, a lot of fun. So I'm really really surprised on that. And then we got one more. We got one more. So the other one that another buddy of mine tried. Well, actually, it's not a buddy. It's actually one of my viewers actually. So they did what you call Kethis, the Hidden Hand. So it's a legendary. So they made like a spirit kind of deck. It's similar to my Inami Death aspect. So if you guys don't know how that works, is that like so Sith he made a Sithis Reanimator spirit deck. So with Kithis, the goal is to bring Inami Death aspect into play, right? And then with the triggered ability goes When Inami enters the battlefield, you search the library for any spirit cards into your graveyard. So he takes all the spirit cards you can. You got Junjie, you got the Drugan, some of the newer dragons from Kamigawa and the old school Kamigawa, right? So they all come into play, go into the graveyard, right? They all come to the graveyard, and then he can actually use like Pichart's bidding to name dragons or spirits, bring them all into play, right? It's pretty interesting how he was playing it, but I have never seen him. I've probably seen him like maybe win once or twice, right? I believe he mentioned he only went maybe once or twice because they already figured out what he's going to do. They're trying to counter him. So especially if you have a whole bunch of spirits in your graveyard, try to book Jubab, right? Or if Thormod's Crypt, exile the graveyard. That's usually a game ender, so you can't really do much. And here we go. So I have a special project that's in the works called Gamer Tags. It's a short video series that interviews gamers on how they got their gaming tag. Right? If you guys are interested, you can fill out the form of description below. Be part of something fun. So once again, this is the hero, and this brings us to the end of the first episode. Thanks for everyone for joining us in our discussion and thoughts, and we hope today's episode was able to entertain you guys. As always, thanks for listening to My Deck is Bigger Than Yours. Stay tuned for our next episode. Once again, this is the hero, signing out.